Edition. My name is Miss Eileen and I want to welcome you to today's project. Today we are going to be making these really cute tree ornaments. And the purpose of our Create Your Holiday programs is to give our young patrons an opportunity to either create gifts to give to somebody or just to create something that they can put on display at their home. You should have already picked up your Take and Make bag here at the library. That is going to have everything that you need to actually make the ornaments. Caregivers, at some point once the clay has actually dried, you are going to need a pair of scissors to cut the string that we use to actually hang the ornaments. So, in just a minute, what's going to happen is I'm going to go over what's in the Take and Make bag, and then we'll go through our step-by-step instructions. And today I'm going to show you how to make 1 or 2 ornaments, and then your clay can actually help you make 4 or 5 ornaments. So, you've got quite some supplies in the bag. Caregivers, I would like you to be there today supporting your little one through our project. Depending on how old your little is, they may need more assistance during the different steps. All right, what we're going to want in front of us is a clean, dry workspace. We're going to be making a little bit of a mess today that we can easily clean up when we're done, but this craft project is going to cause us to cause a little bit of a mess. So, like I said, in just a minute we're going to go over what's in the bag and then we'll get started with our project. Is everybody ready? Let's get started. What I've done in front of me is I've emptied out my Take and Make bag full of all of our supplies. So what you should have in your bag is a paper plate, half a straw, a little bag of air dry clay, a tree cookie cutter, a little container with bells and buttons, a container with cornstarch, and that's going to help us make sure that nothing sticks, and then a little wooden rolling pin and a little red and white string. So that is everything that should be in your Take and Make bag today. If for some reason you are missing something, please let us know. We want to make sure that all of our patrons have all the supplies that they need to create our projects. All right, in just a minute, we're going to start our first step of today's project. So I'm going to get my workspace ready and then we'll go ahead and get started. So for step number 1, we are going to need our little bag of clay, our container of cornstarch, and our rolling pin. And I have my sample ornament over here on display just so we can use that as inspiration. And as with many of our art projects, the things that I'm going to show you here on video are just one way of doing things. So there's a lot of options for you today in terms of decorating your ornament. So just keep that in mind, that if you have another idea or if you have something else you want to add to your ornaments, you are more than welcome to do that. What we're showing you here today are just suggestions. For the first step of our project, we want to roll out our clay. So what we're going to do is we're going to open our cornstarch, and there is a piece of tape on the container just to keep it from spilling open in our Take and Make bags. And just like when we bake cookies or pie crusts, we put flour down to make sure that nothing sticks. We're going to be using the cornstarch for that today. And when the ornaments are done completely drying, we can just brush off the cornstarch and then we're ready to go with those. So what I'm going to do is I am going to sprinkle my cornstarch out in front of me. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to open up my bag of air dry clay. And what I found is you can kind of get it out a couple of different ways. You can either squeeze it out, it does come out pretty easily like that. You can also cut open the bag, whatever is easiest for you and your little one today. And then littles, what you can do is you can start to play with the clay a little bit. And you'll notice that it's really soft and fluffy. This is air clay, so it's a little bit different than other art clays that other people would use for other projects. So this is great for this age group. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of trying to flatten it out before I get ready to roll it out smooth. And you can play with it as much as you want with your hands. Nothing's gonna happen to it. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay it in our cornstarch pile. And what I do is I'm gonna get cornstarch on both sides because our rolling pin likes to stick to this a little bit. And then you can use as much cornstarch as you need to keep things from sticking. And then littles, what we can do is we can take both sides of our rolling pin and we can start to roll out our clay, just like when we make cookies and pie crust when we're baking. And we're gonna roll it out nice and smooth. We don't wanna roll it out too thin because we want to be able to push our buttons and our bells into the clay to decorate today. So once you feel like you've rolled it out thin enough, but also still thick enough to push our decorations into, we can go ahead and take our cookie cutter. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little pile of cornstarch on the table and I am going to run my cookie cutter through the cornstarch. And then I am gonna take my cookie cutter and cut out as many tree shapes out of this one little slab of clay as I can. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay it over and then I'm gonna push down and I'm gonna kind of jiggle it a little bit. And then what should happen is your ornament, your clay tree should pop out right just like that. So now I'm gonna take my paper plate and I'm gonna set my first tree on my paper plate. And then I'm gonna continue cutting out more of my tree shapes. And then, again, if things start to stick a little bit, you can just use more of the cornstarch. And I think I can get one more tree out of my piece here. So far, I've got 2 on my plate and then one more right here. And sometimes if it doesn't come out with the cookie cutter, you can just really gently pull. All right, so I've got 3 on my plate so far. And now what you see here is, uh-oh, I can't do any more cookie cutting. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my clay and I am gonna play with it until it balls up in my hand again. And as you use your hand to kind of warm it up, it'll start to stick together again. And then we can do the same thing with what we did when we started and make kind of a big flat piece like that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sprinkle more cornstarch down. I'm gonna lay it down, flip it over a couple times, and then use my rolling pin to roll it out. And what our goal right now is to get as many trees cut out of this clay as we possibly can. Okay, so I am gonna, let's see, I'm gonna try to pull it up a little bit. I wanna get 2 more out of this. All right, we're gonna see if I can get close to the edge there. And this one, see, this one didn't come out this time, so I'm just gonna gently pull that out and put it on my plate, and then we're gonna see if I can get one more. Let's see. Okay. All right, so far I have 5 trees cut out on my paper plate, and I have enough that I think I can get 1, maybe 2 more out of this. Let's see if I can get 1 more. So what I'm gonna do again is put it in my hand and play with it and get it nice and warm. And then we're gonna flatten it out and we're gonna put some more of our cornstarch down. We'll use our rolling pin. And caregivers, if at any point I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video and get caught up. You don't wanna be working ahead that you can't keep up. Okay, so I've rolled that out nice and flat, and now I'm gonna use my cookie cutter again. And just remember that the number of trees that you get from this clay is all dependent on how thick you roll it out, or how thin you roll it out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a break. I still have some clay, but I think 6 ornaments is plenty for me to decorate now. All right, so in terms of our decorations that we have a container with little bells and buttons. And what I found about the bells is that there's a little notch at the top of the bell, and that is the best thing for you to stick down into the clay. That way, if we listen closely, when we shake our ornaments, the bell will actually still make a noise. So try to put that little notch down into the clay, and that should make it so that your ornament will still jingle when you shake it, if you decide to use the bell. There's bells and buttons, and it's completely up to you what you decide to use to decorate your trees. And then that little straw, you're probably wondering what this straw is for. The straw is to poke holes in the very tip top of the tree so that later when it's dry, we can put our string on it and actually hang them up. So the first thing we want to do to start decorating is to poke our holes. So you're going to take your straw and you're going to find the very top of every tree. So here's the top of one of my trees, and just poke a hole in there. And you might need to use some of the cornstarch for this, depends on how much cornstarch is kind of already on your tree. And then you're gonna have kind of a dot of clay on the inside of your straw. That's okay, you can either take it out or leave it in there. But I'm gonna go ahead and dip that in a little bit of the cornstarch, and I am just gonna keep poking my holes through the top of each of my trees. And caregivers, you might wanna help your little one through this part. We want to make sure that they're not cutting through the side, the very edge of the tree, because you want to be able to put your string through it. But so far I've got a couple of my holes cut here. All right, and then when you're all done with this part, then you can decide where you want to put your buttons or your bells. Or you could decide one of the trees that I made as a sample, I don't know if you can see that, but I ended up just putting a bunch of holes with the straw in it. So I didn't even use any buttons or bells on this one. And again, if you have anything at home that you want to add to this project, that's totally fine too. We love it when people add things to our projects to make them their very own. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take one of my trees here and I'm going to decide to put 2 buttons and a couple bells. So in order to put a button on there, I'm going to set it down and then use my finger to push it into the clay. And you'll start to feel it go into the clay, and once you're happy with how it looks, you can move on to the next one. So I'm going to put a button here, push down, and then I'm going to put a couple of bells. And again, I'm looking for that notch in the bottom, and I'm just going to stick a few of these in here. I'm going to put one more. All right, so I've put 3 bells and 2 buttons on this tree. What I'm going to ask you to do is continue decorating all the rest of your trees. And then caregivers, once these have dried, I would let them dry overnight. There's nothing that you have to bake or anything like that. They just dry overnight by leaving the plate out. And they'll get hard and brittle. And once they've dried, you want to be kind of gentle with them. I mean, if you're rough with them, they will crack. But what you can do when they're dry is you can take that red and white string that we gave you, and you can cut it into little pieces, and then you'll thread it through that very top hole that we created with our straw, and then you'll be able to tie a knot in it and then hang it up as an ornament. All right, good luck in your crafting, all of our littles, and caregivers, I hope you both have fun with this project. I'm gonna clean up my mess and then we'll say goodbye for today. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today during Create Your Holiday Littles edition. I hope you had some fun in crafting along with me today to create your ornaments. They might still be drying, but once they're dry, I hope that you have all sorts of fun giving them as a gift to somebody or hanging them up in your own house. We always love to see our projects that are being created at home, so if you want to send us any videos or pictures of you completing today's project, we would love to see those, and you can send them to us at the email address going across your screen now. Until next time, bye for now.